You're listening to The Burning Truth. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dude and dudettes. I am your host, Matt Burns, and I can honestly say this is going to be a interesting week for The Burning Truth, and of course, all talks of wrestling and everything. But the interesting news for The Burning Truth is, I know I've made some mention of a new members possibly joining The Burning Truth. And, one of them was going to be doing the blogging, but this one, we've actually got a new member to be bringing on for the Burning Truth. He's not going to be blogging. He's going to be on the air for the broadcast and possibly even doing some predictions with me. Everyone, and just in case, if anybody knows from past episodes that we've done, he has actually been on here before. He is formerly known as Johnny Blaze. He is formerly known as Super Blaze on wrestling shows. But he is now only known as John Bloor. So, would you care to introduce yourself?
Wow, with a build-up like that, anything I say is going to be an anticlimax, isn't it?
It's not that bad.
Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you? Remember me? Yeah, right.
It's
Open mouth, insert foot, as usual, is about to happen, I reckon. I'm bound to say something that will get you talking, even if it is just, can you believe what that fool said? That's the plan.
If not, it's going to be me being, well, no, my luck, I'll probably get strung up somehow.
Well, not deliberately on my part, but I can't speak for accidents. They do happen, you know.
Oh, happy little accidents.
Indeed. So, right, slightly clumsy introductions aside, hello everyone. What am I going to be talking about with you today, Mr. Burns?
Oh, excellent. Sorry, I just had to jump into the Simpsons reference there. But one thing we're going to be talking, we've got plenty to discuss. One of them being the fact that this week, I know UKWA actually made announcements, their most recent announcement, which was Hellbound being announced. But they also made the announcement that it was going to be the final roster reveal on Mondays, but it's not actually officially the final, roster reveal ever. There is going to be more, but I think they're wanting to do more surprises, especially with them basically having a show coming up soon. They might actually have some other announcements that they want to get out and off their chest instead.
All good then. So some surprise announcements, not some staged ones at a set time. Keep people on their toes. I like that.
Basically, yeah, and of course they've always got, especially with their upcoming show that seems to be happening on the 9th of February, which is called 0 Hour. And in case anybody wants to see any of that information, you can actually find that out on their social media and of course on their website as well. But but regardless of that, we need to push on and move on to more interesting news. Well, not interesting news, because that is big news, because with, UKWA, they've got, hopefully, and I'm not, I'm looking forward to seeing some matches coming out and being possibly revealed soon, but we don't know when that's going to be happening.
But keep your eyes peeled, because it could be any time soon.
The only thing I will state that can be officially already mentioned for a potential match, it's the fact that they've already got somebody already blabbing off for, since he's joined the roster, which is, AJ Hughes, who's been still stating on, going for the record, stating that he is the, Fusion Pro Wrestling Grand Champion, and that he wants to do.
Cannot be denied.
It can't be denied. However, the fact of the matter is, how he managed to claim the championship could be under questionable methods. I was actually there myself when witnessed it. Very questionable. But one thing I will state, he has been stating he wants to do a potential open challenge. Well, management has been listening and might even have some announcements in regards to that, or they could even actually end up, leaving that out, till on the show date. However, the most interesting piece of it is with announcements. Well, actually, you know what? Let's mention this instead, because it's already out the bag, because he already has made the open challenge, but he's also got a group that seems to be following him behind, which is known as Anarchy. Now, Anarchy,
is that because everywhere they go, that's what they cause?
Pretty much. Now, the thing is, they put out a post on Instagram to grab the attention of the high management. Well, the instead of just getting any management, they've actually got basically the owners potentially dropping in messages to them directly, which if I'm not mistaken, on their Instagram page they even threw out if AJ Hughes is so brave that he should with his championship. They're going to even sweeten the deal for them that if he is successful in his match, the members joining the roster being all members of Anarchy.
Ooh.
But
if he is successful in the champ, however,
if he loses, yes, he will be still a member of the roster. However, I'm pretty sure he'll be, I'm pretty sure that the higher ups will be none too pleased with the fact that he's actually challenged them, and more than likely all members of Anarchy will be banned from future events.
So if he wins, he gets all his friends to come and help him out, and if he doesn't win, they're not allowed to. Sounds like a fair deal to me. Keep your eyes peeled on social media to see if that's how he feels.
Basically, it's almost like a bit of a double or nothing situation.
It is. So, it makes me wonder, do you think he's going to up his game in an attempt to, double or nothing, to win, to get what he wants, which is all his crew on shows?
It'd be almost like having, he's basically being able to have his cake and eating it too. But anyway, that aside, as I mentioned, he's doing a bit of a double or nothing gamble. That's a bit of a nice segue into All Elite Wrestling, which is they've got their special event being called Double or Nothing, which is they are actually going.
I see what you did there.
Of course. They're pretty much going all out. It's almost like they're all going. They're going all in again.
It does seem that they are coming straight out of the gate at 100 miles an hour.
They are.
So All or Nothing is an apt title.
It is very apt, and the interesting thing about it is, just from some of the announcements that from the car park announcements that they did, in regards to having Chris Jericho on the roster, Cody, the Young Bucks, Brandy. You've also got, I believe, Pac as well,
Ooh.
Hangman Page, and a few potential others. Now the question is, one thing that's everybody's going to be on their mind, because everyone's saying this could be they're coming to challenge WWE, they're coming to do this, they're coming to do that.
Yes, I'm sure they are, but these people who are saying this would do well to remember they've got to walk before they can run. They can't just come straight out of the gate and sort of elbow WWE aside and go, out of my way, Grandad, it's our turn now. Even though, with the best will in the world and the best talent in the world, both of which they seem to have, you've got to start from a low point and build up. I don't think that coming straight in and hitting a home run is what they're going to do. But I think the fans that said that may really know that. I think they're just keen on WWE having some competition.
True. Which is the golden point. Now, whether they have got the best talent in the world can be questionable depending on the person you ask. Now, regardless of it, regardless of it's all down to opinion and everything else. Now, officially so far, if I'm not mistaken, Kenny Omega hasn't signed an official AEW contract. However, Chris Jericho has, which is possibly a reason why WWE have actually taken Chris Jericho off their regular roster page. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's now a part of the alumni.
Yes, as far as I know. Don't 100% quote me on that, but that is my reading on it as well so far.
Same with myself. Now, the interesting factor is with this is a lot of people are assuming that they are going to go for WWE and everything. Now, especially with the backing that they've actually got some interesting backers, and there's also a rumour going round potentially that they actually bought some names, if I'm not mistaken. Which is which some of the names that they actually purchased, which when this was all way back when they were doing not long after All In, they pretty much purchased the All Elite Wrestling, which of course we know about that one, which is now AEW. They also purchased the branding for Double or Nothing, of course they want that, but supposedly they've also gone for TNT Dynamite.
Interesting.
As well, potentially. And the interesting thing about it is, the rumour is that the finance backing has actually got good connections with the channel network TNT. Now, could that be that they're mentioning of, could they be aiming to slide in a television, a regular television show to possibly combat? Now, the interesting thing about it is, supposedly the rumour is that if they were going to do it, it would be a Tuesday night. Now, what's interesting about that is, what WWE show is currently Tuesday night, but is moving?
Oh, it's moving, is it? Okay, I've got to be honest, that's news to me. Would it be the WWE show which likes to emphasise how live it is, because that's one of the words of the title of the show?
Potentially SmackDown, which supposedly there was talk of it being moved to Fridays.
It was previously on Fridays in the dim and distant past before it moved to Tuesdays, wasn't it? So
yes.
It's not uncharted territory for them to put it back there. That would make sense.
It is,
but
it's a bit of an unusual time for it to go there, because then, if you think about it, at the moment, if they do actually move over to Friday nights, then it goes back to being Friday Night SmackDown. We'll Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and then we've got 205 Live, NXT Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And
NXT UK as well.
And NXT UK as well, which is, there's a lot of wrestling there.
It would leave, basically, if Thursday is the only day of the week that something that a major brand wasn't on.
No, my mistake. It actually leaves Tuesday, which the days I was meant to mention is Wednesdays and Thursdays, because 205 Live is Wednesday, and NXT is usually
because Friday
Thursday.
Is currently the only blank day.
Correct.
So if they switched SmackDown from Tuesday to Friday, that would leave Tuesday as the empty day. That would make sense from a business point of view, because having, let's say, someone for whatever reason wants to appear on both shows, having them the day after each other and not necessarily in the same part of the country, if they've got a whole week to travel between one and the other, it makes the travelling aspect a lot easier. So I can see why they would do it. Potentially,
but at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, some of 205 Live is actually recorded during SmackDown originally, if I'm not mistaken. So that could end up, possibly having 205 on a bit of a delay. If not, 205 Live can end up running their own shows, possibly either after Raw and everything. But we'll have to wait and see how that turns out.
Indeed. But it'll be interesting to find out, because, of course, It may all just be rumours. They may not be moving SmackDown at all. And if there is an AEW TV show, it may, and I stress may because we don't know what's going on for sure at all, it may go head-to-head with SmackDown.
As we stated, it's all speculation, it's all rumours, it's all hearsay. So take
it's all part of the fun.
So take it with a pinch of salt.
Yes, but as I say, it's all part of the fun. The speculation is, fun. It's what you do. It's thinking about what you would do if you ran WWE, which of course you don't. But everyone has at some point or another gone, well, if I ran it, I'd do it like this, haven't they?
Correct. And do you have any predictions for AEW?
I think they will fairly quickly slot in as the second or third biggest company in the USA.
Possibly.
Or possibly just, I don't know, do you consider WWE a brand and then them a separate one? Or are we going to say they'll just slide into the top 5 because Raw and SmackDown and NXT are all brands in their own right and that they'll be behind all of them?
As much as I could say I would love for it to be all branded separately, that isn't the case. The only thing I would say that is separate for branding is most likely with WWE is probably, you've got your WWE, your main shows, Raw and SmackDown together.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got your NXT shows, which are officially separate from the main roster. But where do you put NXT UK? But we'll discuss that as in regards to what happened recently for NXT, but not at the moment in time. But
it's interesting. Yeah. NXT is technically an affiliate brand of WWE,
yes,
which now has its own affiliate brand in NXT UK. It's getting quite complicated.
It is, and it's still under one brand, so I'd still state that would be all. We'll classify that as all under WWE, officially. But,
yeah, that's fair enough. So therefore, AEW will be looking, I'm sure, to challenge the second and third placed companies in America, which, unless things have very much changed in the last couple of years since I was last paying very close attention, would be Impact and Ring of Honor, would it not?
Yes. As to which way they are around depends on personal preference.
Depends on who you ask and what day it is, and personal preference, indeed.
Correct. However, in the past, I know a lot of people have heard myself saying how much I am annoyed with Impact Wrestling, especially with certain practices that they were doing. However, they seem to be making strides and making certain changes. However, the only major thing I want Impact Wrestling to drop, and you'll probably agree with me on this, is I don't mind some spoilers, or if it's a week or a day, a week, a day, not months, not week, not multiple weeks.
Months in advance. No, that's a little bit excessive, I agree.
Because
it'd be kind of like WWE coming out and saying on this week's Monday Night Raw, look out for, I don't know, let's pick 2 random WWE talents who I'm not even sure off the top of my head are on Raw, but look out for Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. It's happening and we're announcing it now. It's silly, it's pointless to do that because anything can happen between now and then which could potentially put the mockers on it.
True. But at the same time,
such as I've deliberately picked 2 superstars who are currently injured, so I know that they're not going to announce that. But yeah, announcing it now when it's 3 months away is a little bit daft.
True. But it's with the spoilers that are already coming out. It's literally spoilers are already coming out because they've already pre-taped it. And the issue is when it comes to the actual shows, yeah, I am interested in seeing it, but my biggest gripe always has to be is when it comes to watching the show, it's literally, if you've already got it spoiled, a lot of the time it takes it away. But at the same time, I've noticed that WWE haven't gone down the WCW route and tried to do any spoilers. Not,
tried to announce it. No. I agree there. I think that I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, the very nature of what they do means they can't do what WWE do and run every event live. Pre-taping is a necessary evil, but that doesn't mean they have to give everything away all the time. You might have taped it 2 months ago, but keep the results or keep the matches until, if you're going to announce in 3 weeks' time you'll have this match on the show on this week's show, that's fair enough. But try not to give it away on social media 3 months in advance. I agree with you there.
The only problem you have there is with the pre-recordings is you'll have dirt sheets there always spoiling it. So as much as I can understand that you don't want to minimise it, eventually they are going to have to make it more closer to when they're actually meant to be the dates as such. So there's less of a spoiler.
Well,
but...
Yeah, let's hope they have a business model that allows them to do as few pre-records as possible and do as much of it live as they possibly can. Because that's the safest way to stop it. The dirt sheets giving it away early is to do what WWE do and not have it happen until it happens.
However, what I have also noticed with Impact Wrestling is the fact that they actually are calling for everybody to jump on board on Twitch by subscribing to their Twitch channel, to get wrestling on Twitch regularly at the moment in time, which could be an interesting alternative format.
It certainly could, yeah. In an age when the traditional TV approach is just one of many available ways to get your product shown and seen, the fact that they're actively trying something different is to be applauded. Whether it works or not remains to be seen, but good on them for trying, I say.
That is true. That is all true. But one thing I will state is, as much as we have just sidetracked there just a little bit because of Impact Wrestling, as much as we were given a bit of a rollicking for the pre-live tapes, it's good that we were able to return it back onto a bit of a happy moment on good things that Impact is doing, which is good because it's not all bad. It's not
all bad. It really isn't.
It's getting better, and the one major aspect that I've actually liked recently, which is in the old past days, is the fact that they were focusing on always the former WWE wrestler wrestling here, former wrestler here, there, and there.
Former wrestler from somewhere else now appearing here, whereas now they're not doing that, I'm assuming, and that can only be a good thing.
Although Johnny Impact is a former WWE wrestler, but they seem to be focusing on their own talent, which is great.
They are focusing. He may as well be considered their own talent when you consider he was a WWE talent, 6 years ago? It's long enough that they can not get any flack for that, shall we say.
Correct. But it's good to see that they are making their own stars and making their own names, which actually is bringing in more viewers. So fingers crossed, it's building up more. But anyway, back onto the topic of AEW. The one thing I'm interested in seeing is if they do actually rise up the ranks very quickly, especially with the fact that they did a massive production show with All In, if they are able to reproduce that and create more magic and actually become an official challenge. Now, Vince McMahon might not, a lot of people stating Vince wants the challenge. He doesn't. He clearly wants to be dominating, regardless of it. Any businessman is the same.
Yeah, no, well, the thing is, he would want the challenge. I'm sure he would say that outwardly because, it was fairly clear and obvious to people that WCW brought out the best in, well, I say the best, it forced WWE to up their game, whether or not historically you think the Attitude Era was the best or not. It's been under revision recently, but the point is,
you know what?
When Vince mentions competition, I have the feeling what he means is Raw versus SmackDown and possibly in the future versus NXT.
Yes, potentially.
Rather than external competition. But the fact remains, the more places there are outside WWE where good workers can make a name for themselves and make a living is no bad thing.
It's not all bad. It's always good, that is. And the good thing about it is, even if Vince likes it or doesn't like it, or any other companies don't like it or they do, competition is always good for the wrestling fans, because it means that 9 out of 10 times the wrestling fans are going to get to see the best talents doing what they do best.
Exactly. Yeah, like I say, letting the talents have more areas to showcase their abilities is not a bad thing.
But anyway, let's just, with us saying, about the best as such, let's just segue that out onto, because I believe you wanted to have a bit of a discussion in regards to a current wrestler who, if you may or may not know, as such, when it came to me doing the Burning Truth, TBT Awards, I believe I actually put Johnny Gargano as one of the top talents of at the moment.
Yeah. I personally could talk until the proverbial cows come home without hesitation or repetition about how AEW in particular have got their work cut out to catch WWE, and in particular NXT, because still, 6 years on, everything the brand touches pretty much seems to turn to gold. And one man in particular has caught my eye at the minute, in that I think what he's doing and the part that he plays in NXT is absolutely spectacular, and he's playing it to perfection. And basically, last year he was pretty much my standout performer, and if I'd been involved in the Burning Truth, and if they had ranking list for top wrestlers, he'd have been my number one. Absolutely.
It wasn't.
He's called Johnny Wrestling for a reason.
Correct, and that's actually a terminology I actually used for when I actually did the TBT Awards as such. But it's always good to see certain, in regards to that. But at the same time, with NXT, they've got no slouches there at all. And the interesting thing is, and fingers crossed, at the moment in time, I hope when they do finally decide to bring him up to the main roster, they don't do what they have been doing recently. In fact, I hope they don't have this, the recent batch of NXT superstars who are being announced to go up there as such do badly either, because
I agree.
It's been unusual, because since your Samoa Joes and everything has gone up, Finn Balor went up, knocked it out the park, Sami Zayn out the park, Kevin Owens out the park. There seems to be a bit of a slump on whenever NXT has gone, any superstars have gone up. I just hope that they don't have that same situation with anybody further. And they put
the issue that I currently have now is, I think they've got such a hot product in NXT with the roster they currently have, and they don't really need anyone else in the already ridiculously stacked WWE main roster on either show. So I don't think they need any more call-ups, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that the 2019 NXT would benefit from, bring more indie guys in and bolster that roster, but essentially leave the top players that are currently there where they are. Let them be NXT players for more than just a fleeting moment on their way into the main roster. Let them build their legacy in NXT, I think. And Johnny Gargano in particular is absolutely spearheading that.
Correct. And if necessary, as a potential idea, why didn't they have NXT, instead of it being like a bit of a subsidiary, being underneath SmackDown and Raw, building up to be on the same level?
Building up to be the official third brand. Absolutely. I think, now I have no official guarantee for this. This is solely my opinion, so anyone listening to this should be made aware of that before I start to say this. But I think that is...
Translation is...
Translation, I'm speculating here.
It's an opinion.
Translation is, I'm speculating wildly, and it is 100% my opinion, and I don't want anyone to think anything else. But I believe that is the long-term goal that Triple H is working towards, which is that NXT will become the third official brand and the worldwide network of regional NXTs that they are slowly going to build up, that started with NXT UK, and which I believe they'll have probably 4 or 5 more by the time they're done, will become the development territories for the 3 main brands, which will be Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. I think that is what Triple H's ultimate goal is.
Straight away, and interesting that you just mentioned an NXT UK, because that's going to be a nice little segue. Because yes, I could discuss about NXT Takeover, but not yet, because I believe that NXT UK have actually officially opened up their own training, if I'm not mistaken,
the UK Performance Centre, I believe. Correct. They call it, which I've seen images of, and the whole thing. A little bugbear aside, it's the UK Performance Centre in London, and every single banner in the building that said UK Performance Centre had centre spelt the American way. That made me a little bit annoyed. But that's a side note, because frankly, it's a wonderful endeavour, and let's not get caught down in picky details.
Regardless of it, it's still a centre. We have many ways of spelling centre in the UK. Come on, we have centre parts.
We have. No, that's what I'm saying. There's the English way and there's the American way, and in the UK version Performance Centre, it was spelt the American way. But that, at the end of the day, that's not the point. The point is, the Performance Centre has proved to be worth its weight in gold. It's a fantastic place that has unearthed and helped develop hundreds of talents that are all over both NXT and the main roster. Well, so to have one in this country to help keep bringing the UK talents through up to NXT UK is a spectacularly good move. And I agree, I like it.
Straight away, we've got some names like Finn Balor even stating, great idea. This is going to actually help, produce more top talents for the UK, and it's interesting in regards to, because of that. Yes, I know a lot of people are going to be possibly stating that this is this WWE's way of monopolising, the world, which of course is possibly going to be that. But here's the thing: regardless of it, they are doing the one thing that a lot of, and this is no diss on certain other companies at all. One thing that I've noticed with WWE that they have been doing a lot lately is they aren't just focusing on what is current now. They're also always focusing on what's next.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is what NXT UK, the UK Performance Centre, and the next, wherever the next NXT regional is. I mean, in future episodes we can speculate about where we think that might be, but this is definitely what all of these are. They're not thinking about now. They're thinking about 5, 10, 15 years down the line, when the company will have a whole new set of legends and mainstays who may currently be just starting out in the main roster. They may currently be NXT mainstays. They may currently just be starting out in NXT. But the production line needs to continue, and they need replacements for them in time.
Hell, they could even they could already be making their first steps on starting wrestling.
Exactly. Well, now that's what I'm saying. That the 10 years and 15 years time mainstays will be probably all the guys who have at least set foot in the door now, but in that time frame when they're the mainstays, the established superstars, all the guys from anyone who's currently on the UK scene that hasn't had the call up yet to someone who's gone, I really fancy being a pro wrestler, but hasn't even laced their boots up yet, is getting a firmer and firmer ground for the potential for them to follow that path and follow in the footsteps of the first wave who are there now. Absolutely. So for that reason, it's to be commended.
Massively. And it's always great to hear such great news like that.
Yeah.
With Triple H even being there himself, making the announcements. And
Triple H was there. The NXT head coach was there. I don't know if I should refer to him by his wrestling name, or since they refer to him by his real name as the NXT head coach, I think. Yeah, so okay, if they do, I suppose I can call him that. He was there. Shawn Michaels was there.
Yeah. He was.
So some serious heavyweight talent were there, which goes to show this isn't WWE just, this isn't the XFL in the late 90s. Ooh, it's not a potentially good idea that's been half-heartedly executed and as a result isn't going to live up to its potential. They are making sure that every bit of potential that the UK and indeed the European scene has, they've got their finger on that pulse.
And allow me just to state that is no prediction on the current status of XFL, with its current...
Oh, no, I'm referring to XFL version 1 from back in the day.
Yes.
From which they've had 15 years or whatever to plan the current version and, I'm sure, not make the same mistakes. So...
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, but anyway.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, the point being, they've got their finger on the future as well as the present. And, well, that's the safest way to guarantee their long-term survival as a company. So, good on them.
Yeah, that's all good. Now, I've got to discuss something that not everyone may have seen or may have seen, which is from last night, which is NXT UK Takeover, which is Blackpool.
I personally am halfway through it, so... Don't worry, folks, we're not going to give any spoilers. Personally, because I can't, because I've only seen one match, and also because it would be unsporting.
It's not just that. As some of the listeners already know on here, I'm not one for mentioning any results, because what's the point on us jabbing on about the current... we can discuss the current results as such. Now, one thing... we could discuss it, but it would just be us repeating
I think it's the case that many people have probably already given their opinions on it in various blogs and podcasts and things, and we'd just sort of be adding to the white noise, wouldn't we? So
it's not that we're adding to the white noise. I'd be more than happy to discuss it later, possibly next week if necessary. Now, a lot of people are saying, why are we waiting that long to hear your views on it? Now, the reason why we're stating that is because right now it's actually on the WWE Network. It only aired yesterday. Not everybody gets a chance to see it there and then on the same day. So, just
case in point, I have only seen one match as of so far. So yeah, the reason is, yes, if you haven't seen it, that's exactly the case. We don't want to come on and say, Wrestler X defeated Wrestler Y in a 5-star classic, because that kind of ruins your enjoyment, and that's not what we're all about.
Yes, and on top of that, if you really wanted something spoiled, you'd literally you can just literally go to the website and just literally go down and see the results for yourself, or better yet,
Google Takeover UK results and. Well, you might have to put NXT in the front of that, and you can find out anything you need to know. But
that's one option.
Yeah, we'll discuss it.
Or there's the other option, which is actually watching it. And Vince McMahon, you I'm hoping to you do eventually start paying the Burning Truth for how much we plug the network, which is only just for $9.99.
How much?
$9.99.
Did you say $9.99?
I did.
Bargain, anyway, I tell you.
It's a bargain.
Thousands of hours of original content. It's nearly as much of a bargain as The Burning Truth.
Correct. Let me just state this for the record: we do not charge any of our fans for this quality content at all. But one thing I will state,
hence why
it's a bargain. One thing I will state,
hence why it's nearly as much of a bargain.
Correct. And the interesting thing about
you can't
WWE
beat
Network,
free.
True.
Go on.
One thing with WWE Network is if you are signing up, you get your first month free. But anyway, moving on from that, from the NXT,
which means if
whoa, hang on.
Yeah, go on.
NXT UK Takeover, from my own personal point, amazing matches, amazing card. Definitely recommend it to anybody, be it from whatever country you're from. You will be entertained.
However, can I just ask, and it's not spoiling anything here, because as good as well as anyone that it's going to be good, but are we, as wrestling fans, being spoilt by NXT and now NXT UK? Because, yet again, it's fantastic. They've hit the ball out of the park. What is going to happen the day that something NXT or NXT UK doesn't chime, and suddenly they don't have their first card of the year, every single card they put out? Because the bubble's got to burst sooner or later. They can't just keep being infinitely awesome forever, can they?
True. That is true, but let's enjoy it while it's still going and still running.
Well, I was going to say, so far so good. Let's enjoy it for what it is, which, like I say, currently, the streak of brilliantness shows no sign of ending.
Correct. With them knocking out, stellar matches as such, but like I said, no spoilers. We don't want to be ruining anything at all. And on top of that,
I think we're safe. I don't think saying it was a brilliant show spoils anything. It's NXT. You know it's going to be good.
Exactly. It's almost like in case anybody's not from the UK, you remember them old adverts, the Ron Seal adverts. It does exactly what it says on the tin.
Does exactly what it says on the tin. Yes.
It's almost the same for NXT. As soon as you see the NXT sign brand, you're watching it.
You just know it's going to be fantastic. Yeah, that's true.
Correct. But that aside, anyway, with the NXT UK takeover being mentioned and covered with NXT UK takeover Blackpool, one thing I want to discuss, and this is almost the same as NXT UK takeover Blackpool, especially with John Blow, who hasn't seen what I'm about to mention, or even know what I'm about to mention, which is they straight after NXT UK takeover Blackpool. If anybody was still watching it, they would have seen directly after the Nigel McGuinness story.
They will have done, as stated. I think I tried to say stated and mentioned at the same time. Now I don't know what word I said, but it wasn't one that was previously in the English language, so I apologise. As stated, I haven't seen it yet, but apparently you can't eulogise about it enough. You can't. Is eulogise the word? Basically, you can't say enough how fantastic you think it is and how much everyone should watch it. Am I right?
Nigel McGuinness is somebody who I think is an absolutely amazing superstar. Absolutely, when he was wrestling, he was hitting the rankings. He was at the top 10, top 5. He was doing absolutely fantastic and amazing as such.
He is a guy whom anyone who is a fan of independent wrestling outside of WWE for the last 15 years will know about and will probably have raved about one of his matches at some point or another.
Correct. And a lot of top talents also pay homage to Nigel as well. Now, as such,
I haven't seen the documentary, but I've seen the trailer, and the number of people on that who are queuing up to say nice things just kind of tells you that doesn't happen unless the guy in question is something special.
It's not just that. Whether you call him Nigel McGuinness, Desmond Wolfe, to me, he will always be Nigel McGuinness, and as such, with my full name being... My actual full name being Matthew Nigel Burns, it's almost like I'm paying a bit of homage to him as well as, and I can honestly state, it's touching to watch. It's amazing to see the actual. If you've seen some of his documentaries, like his last tour and everything. This is something you need to see what WWE have done for him, and it's not just that they've gone out of their way. They haven't just covered it a little bit.
It's something that WWE probably won't thank me for saying.
Go on.
But there hasn't been a documentary this in depth and this much of a career and sort of a, you've seen him, you love him, now find out everything that you already know, and probably a few things that you didn't about him kind of documentary, since a certain Chicago native who WWE don't like to mention anymore.
I wouldn't even go as far as that. In actual fact, you don't reveal everything about him, which is the great thing about it. You mention the best parts of Nigel's past and everything, but they sort of leave the blanks there for you to, but they leave some blanks there for you to actually go.
Spaces for you to fill in yourself, yeah.
For you to go and watch it. It's basically, for me, because I am an avid fan of Nigel McGuinness, I didn't need to fill the blanks in. I know his history.
Yeah.
And
I'm totally with you. But they are relying on the fact that, unlike CM Punk, whose documentary I was referring to, who's had plenty of action outside of WWE, but also a lengthy career within it that they could call upon for footage, due to unfortunate circumstances covered in the documentary, the entirety of Nigel's in-ring career was outside WWE. So, that's probably why they went down the road they did.
Mm-hmm.
That they've left it open for you to watch his matches, but they haven't openly said, hey, watch another wrestling promotion, because they don't do that. But they've just simply laid it there for you to say, well, if you like what you've seen here,
check it out,
follow up, increase your knowledge. It will be worth your time.
And in actual fact, at one point, I believe one of the people who are praising him are stating, if you haven't seen it, why haven't you?
Excuse me.
It's that sort of knowledge, but it's absolutely amazing and shock. It's if you have a documentary to watch, even if you have a spare hour, spare half hour, just even if you got 5 minutes, I guarantee you watch 5 minutes or 10 minutes of that, you will not be leaving. It's pretty much, if you had plans for 5 to 10 minutes time, just as you decide to put that on, you ain't leaving until it's done.
That's true. That's absolutely true. I know that due to life getting in the way, having to sleep, having to eat, having to work, the burning truth. I haven't seen it yet, but trust me, it's at the top of my watch list on the network, and I can't state highly enough, it should be on yours too, listeners.
That it should be. Now, with that being already covered and as such, we need to discuss some interesting wrestling news. Now, for some interesting wrestling news, I've actually got a bit of an announcement for Academy Pro Wrestling. Now, this news is actually linked with a gentleman who has written Crazy Like a Fox. Now,
which is the book of the life of which legendary in-ring performer?
Basically,
just in case anyone who's listening doesn't know.
Basically, Crazy Like a Fox is the definitive chronicle of Brian Pillman, which at the time when it was released, which was in 2017, was the 20 years later of Brian Pillman's life, and is
fantastic.
It's something I always praise myself, and something I even shouted from the mountains to definitely read. However,
go on.
However, the person who wrote the book also wrestles for Academy Pro Wrestling under his name of Jamie Future. Now, Jamie Future has been trying to take over Academy Pro Wrestling, and he has been trying to make his claim, stating he wants to be general manager, he wants to be in charge, he wants to get rid of certain people. Now, he's supposedly been in touch with someone in America to possibly call over to, to basically be backup, be the man to watch his back. Now, a lot of people were stating, well, who would he know in America? He'd probably have a lot of connections to his book. Who would he have, wanting to watch his back.
For those of you listening who are on the edge of their seats going, go on, who? Go on. Think laterally here. Go on.
Here's the interesting thing. It is someone by the name of Brian. It is someone by the name who has the surname Pillman. It is none other than Brian Pillman Jr., who will be making an appearance.
Brian Pillman Jr.
will be making an appearance. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, excuse me. When you're the author of the definitive book of the man's dad's life, it makes sense that that's who it is.
Correct. And
like I said, think laterally.
Yeah, quite literally. And the good thing about it is, with it, is that that appearance will be taking place for APW, Academy Pro Wrestling, on the 4th of May of this year. So keep an eye out
keep your eyes peeled for that.
For any further announcements of that on Academy Pro Wrestling or APW social media, which I recommend everybody to check out. But anyway, last thing.
And speaking of which, if you've ever heard the name Brian Pillman, be it you've just heard it mentioned in passing because you're a fairly new wrestling fan who's fairly young, through to anyone who may have seen a couple of his matches on the internet or maybe on the network, to people who may have watched Loose Cannon, which was the WWE-produced documentary of his life. Whatever level of Brian Pillman fan you are, you need to read that book. And if he's someone who is new to you, you need to know about him. So watch the documentary, read the book, and possibly go to the show on, did you say, April the 5th? May the 5th?
No, 4th, May 4th.
May the 4th. Yeah,
May 4th.
Because Brian Pillman is one of the characters from the history of wrestling. If you're a fan in any way, shape or form, you really, really should know.
Definitely. And it's something, and with the Crazy Like a Fox book, it's something I actually personally recommend. It's a book that, as soon as I read the first page, I had to keep reading until the end. But no spoilers in the book. It's one of the most thorough books I recommend anybody to check out. I just thought I'd mention that book again once more. But anyway, with that being already just that I've been covered and discussed, let's now move on to the next topic, which is, well, there isn't a next topic. It's more likely what we're going to be discussing next week, which is, if I'm not mistaken, I know a lot of people are going to be asking, why aren't we discussing NXT TakeOver Phoenix and WWE Royal Rumble? We are saving that up for next week, and possibly going to be possibly doing some predictions for that.
Uh-oh. Hey, welcome to JB's world of universally awful predictions, where whatever I say will happen, if you could bet on wrestling, you'd be a safe bet to go down the bookies and put money on the precise opposite. Such is my track record in such things. So if you're going to be listening next week, brace yourself, because I'm preparing to not be physically possible to be any more wrong. Well, so listen out for that.
The actual predictions won't be announced potentially on the air. We could actually be just doing the predictions like how the Burning Truth has been doing recently, which is through the blog. So,
either way, yeah. Well, whether we do them on the air next week or not, after the event, at some point, I'm sure we'll bring them up again and mention just exactly how badly wrong I got it, because that's all part of the fun.
The interesting thing is, because it's been a while since since I've had a member on, a co-host with me on The Burning Truth, I can actually get it back to being, a bit of a versus instead of it being both of us.
All right, well, okay, I'm officially stating before we do any predictions that I'm going for a reverse sweep. I only win if I get everything wrong, not everything right.
Trust me when I say this. I do great some months, and then on others I've looked at it. I've just looked at it as like, if I did put money down on these matches, the bookies would have taken me to the cleaners. But let me just announce, let me just state this to everybody. When we do mention anything to do with bookies, if you are going to be placing any bets or anything as such, please bet responsibly. That's all.
Gamble responsibly, of course. What's that phrase that the Gambling Commission use? When the fun stops, stop.
Stop. Correct. But
because that's what gambling is supposed to be, a bit of fun.
A bit of fun, but in actual fact, we're not actually putting wagers on. We're basically just doing predictions, and that's all we're doing.
It's basically for bragging rights between the two of us and nothing else. We just want to make that clear.
Yeah, just to make that clear. But anyway, we will be discussing further information with the NXT TakeOver Phoenix and WWE Royal Rumble. As such, we'll be discussing some of the topics on what we think will be happening heading into that. And potentially, because I noticed a topic that you possibly brought up earlier, that would be an interesting one. It might not be next week, but it'll be down in the future, which is...
Some down the line in a few weeks, yeah.
Which is, was the Attitude really good?
The Attitude Era, yes. Was it? Historical review, it was at its absolute peak, 20 years ago now? Or was it starting to already wane by then? Who knows? But the point is, does history look on it kindly?
Does he still stand the test of time? Is basically what you're stating.
Indeed.
And we'll discuss on that. But anyway, let's get on to some plugs right now. And unfortunately, just to let everybody know, John Blow doesn't have the list of plugs in front of him. I thought I'd be a little bit selfish and just get them out the way as such. It's part of me, my usual routine.
Yeah, that's cool. You plug away.
Which is, of course, if there is anything you want to plug, I'll leave an opening for John Blow to mention. And as such, please check out, UKWA, also known as UK Wrestling Alliance, which, as a lot of people noticed, we have discussed them earlier, which is one of the first topics we actually discussed. We also recommend you check out UK Wrestling Media, also known as UKWM. They do absolutely fantastic photography and videography as well. And of course, we recommend, if anybody wants to learn to wrestle, please check out Manchester Pro Wrestling Academy. They have beginners classes are on Mondays, £10 per class. Which I believe the time is 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. But for location details, please check them out on their social media, which they are on Facebook, they are on Twitter, and I believe they are on Instagram as well. Please check out JG Printing and Stitching. Now, this one I need to go a little bit in depth with JG Printing and Stitching. I've actually had some of their quality merchant, quality work from them. I believe I had an official Burning Truth polo shirt, one of a kind, from them. And at the moment in time, they are currently struggling for business at the moment, and are having sort of funding issues. And I believe that they've actually set up a GoFundMe page, which if you ever checks out their JG Printing and Stitching on social media, you will see a link on there. Please, I recommend anybody who is listening, if you have got anything to donate in regards to in that sense, or you want to help somebody get their business up, please.
I was going to say, likewise, whether you want to donate via the GoFundMe page, or if you need anything printing or stitching, please you know who to go to.
Please check them out. And the next two things I want to mention are actual charities. For me personally, I like to discuss mentioning that these two charities, which is Mind and Change for Changes for Health and Wellbeing, which is straight away
two very noble causes,
two massive causes that I know a lot of people may not know about. Changes for health and wellbeing, as it's not throughout the whole of UK, but it's something that some of the information that they have on their website can actually prove useful. And of course, Mind, which is for mental health, as on their website, absolutely, the information that is being provided on there could prove massively useful, either for yourself
could. I don't think it's too much of an overstatement to say it could be life-changing.
It can be, and it's something I'll state my usual saying, which is the information on there can actually prove useful either for yourself or the information you do find on there could prove useful to yourself or in regards to helping somebody else. You never know. And moving on from that, please check out Team 4-Star, which they have their Dragon Ball Z Abridged. The Abridged series is absolutely fantastic and something I recommend anybody to watch. If you are a fan of Dragon Ball Z, please check it out. Absolutely amazing work. It's comical, absolutely comical. And please check out bands, some UK bands like The New Breed and Kamens, which are absolutely doing great music, knocking it out the park as such. And as I've just mentioned quite a lot there, is there anything you want to plug yourself, John?
Honestly, you've kind of put me on the spot here. You haven't. I had ages to plan this, but I couldn't think of anything, no. But maybe this time next week, if the stars align and I come back, because that's what you want and that's what the people want, I'll have found something to plug then. But for the time being, no, let's just focus on yours.
That's fine. Of course, I believe you'll know about. You'll know this one from watching it yourself. I watch it religiously, which is You're Welcome, Matthew. Of course, please check out Botchamania.
Absolutely. Something in the region of 250 of them now, so there's plenty for you to keep up with.
And if you're just starting, you've got a lot of catching up to do.
You have, but trust me, it's catching up that is worth doing.
Absolutely catching up that's worth doing. And of course, please check out Phil DeFranco, which is a YouTube news site, which is he even gives the great news, the good news, the bad news, but he does it in such a unique way. So I want to give him a massive shout out as well, as he has come back to doing his usual daily show. So please check out Phil DeFranco. And of course, please check out Luke Moto, who is also a UK wrestler who I know personally as well. And he is doing daily vlogs as such, so please check him out. As I want to, basically share some love, pretty much, all round. What share some, shout outs and as such. And please, of course, this person the last one I'm going to be giving a massive shout out to is When Fandom Strikes. They are on YouTube, but I actually got introduced to this person on TikTok. Now, the funny thing about it is, she has an amazing series on there, which is things that thoughts that keep me up at night. Some of the stuff they come out with is absolute pure genius. Recommend it for everybody. And of course, please always check out your local wrestling. Just for some examples of certain shows I actually attend to myself, which is United Wrestling, Academy Pro Wrestling, FCW, Fusion Pro Wrestling, and many, many more. And as such, as anybody does any knowledge on the local wrestling, you'll probably notice that United Wrestling is in Stoke, while Fusion Pro Wrestling is in Wales. Not as local as most, but I consider UK local. But whatever's local in your own mind, please always check out your local wrestling.
Yeah, what you've got to take in mind is if you go on Google and Google UK wrestling promotions, there's one in pretty much every major town. So Google wrestling promotion and your town, and if there isn't one exactly where you are, there will be one not far away. And if there is one fairly local to you, support them by all means.
Please do. And of course, if you also check out their social media, you never know, because some of them actually give out some prizes. Some possible free tickets.
Yeah.
And big massive shout outs and everything. So the information,
as lifelong fans, maybe it's no surprise for me to say, but there are few things better than a live wrestling show to go and watch as a night of entertainment.
It's something.
So we can't encourage you enough to keep your local promotion going by adding your face to the crowd.
Correct. And of course, the last shout out, period, which is not an external shout out. This is an internal one, which is the Burning Truth website, which is www.theburningtruthuk.com. Please check us out on there. It's where you can be potentially listening to us live. It can also be where you can be listening to past broadcasts, to past interviews. We've also got show reviews on there, be it either written or audio. At the moment, show reviews is currently on a bit of a hiatus, but hopefully be making a return, as well as the interviews. We've also got some snazzy merchandise on there, which is some great shirts and also office mugs that do make some great presents or gifts. So please bear that in mind. There is a blog page, and of course I have been mentioning week after week I will be doing some more blogging. I can't get round to it for some unknown reason. For some unknown reason, other than the predictions, I can't somehow get round to getting the blog out. It's almost like I haven't got enough time. What am I doing?
Oh, I don't know.
It's a lot.
I'm sure at some point in the near future you may be able to spare the time. So keep your eyes peeled, folks. It might happen. We're not ruling it out.
It may happen. It may happen this year. And of course, we've also got the contact page where you can send messages. Most of the stuff that we've mentioned already, the external shout outs that we've done are possible added on there as links on the link section. And of course, please check out our social media, which is we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on Instagram, and of course we are also on Twitter. But our Twitter name is a little bit different, which I'll spell it out for you, is WRESLING4THWALL.
That, folks, is Wrestling Fourth Wall, but wrestling is spelt that way because there's a character limit. It's Twitter. We could just about squeeze it in that way.
The reason why I'm stating the spelling of it is because we did have an old name, but all I'll just say is it wasn't Wrestling at all. We are just. I'll just spell it out once more: WRESLING 4THWALL, and that is all the social media. And of course, if you want to catch any past episodes, there's another place you can catch us, which is Spotify.
Of course. Hang on, just for the record here, are you stating that there is something else out there which is called Wrestling Fourth Wall, which we are not affiliated with in any way?
Correct.
Okay, just make sure there's no confusion about that.
That's is cool. Correct. There is some other potential names that are out there, but it was actually originally the name was only spelt that way because to avoid it was spelt that way because at the time that's how the name that we picked. But luckily enough, it isn't a old name that we used to be under, which we cannot mention on the air, just to point that one out. But anyway, that is a wrap up for this week, I believe. So as of course, we recommend you all to check, to hopefully check us out next week. We will be back next week, so please come back, listen to us and
come back then for, as we say, NXT, Phoenix and Royal Rumble predictions, amongst many other wonderful things.
And some topics, and of course, if you've got any suggestions, please send them in, of 4 topics to discuss, and fingers crossed we'll probably squeeze them in for you and even get some shout outs as well. But as always, please stay well, stay safe, and as always, please check out your local wrestling. Until next week, I'll catch you all later. And I believe it'll be a bye from yourself, would it, John?
It would indeed, yeah. Thank you for listening. Just see you next week, and goodbye.
Catch you later.